contract with the Bucks. Unless he's given an extension, trade speculation will continue to percolate around him. The Eastern Conference has been significantly impacted by injuries during this year's playoffs, with multiple players suffering Achilles tears. These injuries could reshape the landscape of the conference, opening the door for other teams to contend for the NBA Finals. Okay, so Stephen A., based on all these injuries in the East, is that more of a reason for Giannis to leave or to stay?
For me, it's to leave. Personally speaking, I mean, I'm thinking about Miami. I'm thinking about a couple of other potential landing destinations that could better position him. But I understand, listen, his loyalty to Milwaukee is unquestioned. I'm just looking at Milwaukee's limitations, particularly with Dame injured and with how cap-strapped they are with the draft picks, or them being bereft of the necessary draft picks and what have you that you would need in order to improve your squad. It's not the city of Milwaukee per se. It's the organization and how they went all in and how it didn't work out. And now what can you do moving forward in the future in terms of mobility to improve your chances? It can't just be because other people are injured. You might want to go to another organization that can maximize that opportunity instead of staying in Milwaukee. That's why I feel the way that I feel. I doubt that he feels that way, but that's how I'm thinking about it.
Keith, let me just clarify the question before you go there. Is it more of a reason for Giannis to stay in Milwaukee rather than leave, based on all these other injuries in the East?
I would keep it short term in this situation. I would say I would stay, right? I would see what the next year looks like, because there's so many questions that has to be answered on the East. Like, the team you have now, move some pieces around, you can compete with those teams on the East. Now it's the West that you're going to have a problem with. So being as though like you have 1 year to kind of get some feel of what it's going to look like. You bring Dame back next year, not really sure what he's going to look like. Right now is just the part of your career with the way the East is transpired that you should just stay, move some pieces around, see what it look like next year, and then come back with the decision again next year based off of what has transpired in the East.
Let's talk some facts before we get into anything else. The Bucks have 7 free agents. 7. 3 or 4 of which I would refer to as core players, okay? The Bucks do not have salary cap space, okay? The Bucks do not control their first-round draft pick for the next 5 years. They can't trade it. They can't trade the pick or the swap, okay?
Wow.
The Bucks are in a situation where they cannot count on Dame Lillard for next year. Maybe he can come back, but they cannot count on it. The Bucks are not interested right now in trading Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Giannis, to our knowledge, my belief, has not asked for a trade. Those are the facts, okay? Now, we are also before the draft. We are before free agency. Will the Bucks do some things over the next 2-3 weeks to put themselves in a position where they can look like they could win the Eastern Conference with those limitations? Maybe.
Highly unlikely.
Right. So that's why the league is waiting. People want to know, why aren't the Knicks going all in for Kevin Durant? Why aren't the Heat going all in for Kevin Durant? Because in part, there's other reasons, but in part, they want to see what happens here with the Bucks. And we're going to be watching closely.
Well, the team that should be having that position are the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat, especially with the Miami Heat, who has control of some of their draft picks. So when you look at it from that standpoint, and the fact that you don't have a star in South Beach, but you got two really good players in Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, you got to maximize that. This is Pat Riley. This is Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra is a Hall of Fame coach. Pat Riley is a Hall of Famer. This is a first-class organization. We all know what they bring to the table. You got to capitalize on that. You got to take advantage of that. And to me, the only excuse, as Keith pointed out yesterday, the only excuse for you not getting KD, when KD had them as one of the top 3 choices, his landing destinations. If you don't get KD, it's because you wanted to go and you wanted to get Giannis. That is the only possible excuse that you could have. You go all in, and I don't give a damn what Milwaukee asked for. You go, and if you can get Giannis, you get Giannis. That's what you do.
Right. Their status quo isn't terrible.
I understand that, but the point is, it's worse than that. They're right in the middle. You ain't going anywhere, and you won't plummet to the point where you can position yourself to get a Cooper flag. You're right in the middle. Everybody knows that's purgatory in sports. You got to be in a position where you can find a way to improve your chances, whether it's by sticking up the joint and getting high picks or already being elite. Miami is neither.
I mean, the Knicks are status quo is in good shape.
Got you. Good shape.
LA, Bobby, what do the Lakers need to accomplish here in the next week or thereabouts to become championship contenders?
They need two things. They need a center, and that is priority A. And then, of course, they need some perimeter shooting here. Now, listen, they've got expiring contracts to go out and make a deal over $60 million. Keep an eye on the draft pick they have in 2031 or 32. We saw they tipped their hand in the Mark Williams trade that was voided back in February, that they are willing to go out and make a big deal if they can get a center for Luka, a lob threat, rim protector that they sorely needed.
What feels realistic, Wendy, here in the next couple weeks?
Well, if the Lakers are committed to playing Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, and it seems like that they are going to need some defensive protection from them because teams are going to attack there. So ideally, you could have somebody that could defend a little bit more on their perimeter to use them, and you need a backline center. The Lakers are going to come into any negotiation, as Bobby said, knowing that they gave what they gave for Mark Williams last year, so teams are going to be looking for that first-round pick in the pick swap. So good luck to Rob Pelinka for trying to keep those on the table if he is going to try to make a bargain deal.
Yeah, he made the great move for Luka, and now we'll have to make a few more. Keith, you were there with the Lakers. I'm gonna ask you a complicated question. I understand it's not easy to answer this honestly. How close did you guys feel? The Minnesota, that we sort of described it as a bad matchup. How close did you guys feel to being a championship team?
We felt extremely close, honestly, right? The matchup, like you just said, was the big thing. But if you look back at a couple weeks before we started the playoffs, we played OKC, and OKC 2 games. One of the games we won by almost 20. In another game, Luka was teched out of the game in the fourth quarter of a really good game. So they didn't bother us that much. So with that being said, I felt like we were super close. Next thing, and to piggyback off Wendy, they do need a big, right? I don't think they should give up their core pieces to get a big. You just need somebody that can, protect the rim, screen and roll, and just, beat Luka and AR's backside. But that piece is the main thing, and get a little bit of perimeter shooting. But I think the guys they have there can actually get it done.
Feels like a year ago, but remember in that series, that game 3, Luka was sick, doesn't play. LeBron plays all those minutes, then they come back. No bench minutes at all in the second half of that game 4, and they almost won that game. The Lakers had chances there.
One thing about that, LeBron actually put it on Instagram yesterday. He was back on the court yesterday for the first time in 8 weeks because that injury that he suffered to his knee at the end of that series, which nobody really remembers, it was a sprained knee. He actually, I don't know if he would have been able to play. So they had some bad luck with LeBron help at the end as well.
Fair enough. So the Lakers, obviously always the center of the conversation, and with new ownership to boot. Bobby, back to you with the big questions. Do the Golden State Warriors, in order to keep up with the Joneses, do they have to go big name hunting again?
They don't. Similar to the Lakers, they need to go out and get some front court help also. They need to put not Draymond Green at the center here. The hard thing that I'm coming to grips with is, what do you have to offer in a contract standpoint? They've got the draft picks. They got 4 first-round picks. They can go out and do a deal. Let's pay attention to Jonathan Kuminga. What happens with him in restricted free agency? That's their big trade asset. Unless they want to dip into, certainly they've got Draymond Green sitting there. I don't know if you want to part ways for him, but they're all 2 to tango. There's got to be a big name out there for them to go out and get.
So, Winman, in advance of what we know, meaning or in advance of what is about to happen, sitting where we're sitting today, the 3 preeminent stars, the faces of the NBA over the past generation, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, all aging, all still playing great, and now all on contending teams in the jam-packed Western Conference. Which one of them do you think feels closest to having a chance at one more ring?
Well, I really like the team